Okay, hi everyone. Ed Bixby here from the Global Green Burial Alliance, my co-host Gretchen Splutzer, and this is our monthly forum, and we have a wonderful guest today. So Gretchen, would you like to introduce?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. We're having a forum today with Bob Jenkins, who is the owner and founder of Let Your Love Grow. And he has a new thing coming out called Precision Organic Dispersal, which is like natural organic reduction. And I'll just read a little bit about it, and then I'll let him talk. And we have a short 6-minute video just to kind of introduce it also to you, and then we'll get into the discussion. So precision organic dispersal is an environmentally positive alternative solution to burial and cremation. By using a scientifically formulated soil blend known as RTN, we are able to turn a body into nothing but a nutrient-rich soil blend in a matter of months. Our system, known as Precision Organic Dispersal, or POD, is unique in that it uses precise measurements and control to accelerate natural decomposition without the need to open the chamber during the process. Currently, there are 6 states that allow human composting: Washington, Colorado, Vermont, Oregon, and New York. Individuals who support the new alternative precision organic reduction dispersal pod believe in creating life and death. Science has successfully proven these byproducts of the human composting process. The nutrients in the soil blend and remain are vital for our ecosystems to thrive. It regulates moisture. The amount of carbon dioxide in the air is reduced, and plant life is sustained. And I will just, let's see, pop on and share this video here. Share the screen. Yes. Okay.
Oh, it's not, you can't hear it.
Can't hear it? I can hear it. It says I'm sharing.
Can anybody else hear it?
No.
Pardon? No?
No.
Kelly,
Try
do you
start-
want to tell them how to do it? 'Cause
Yeah,
you
I
had
can,
shared
I
that
can,
with me.
I'll walk through it. Just play it and I'll walk through it.
Okay.
Because I did the voiceover anyway. So our company was,
Oh,
Oops.
sorry. When you do the share screen, there's the dialog box. There's a little button that you have to click that says share sound. And then if you click that
Oh,
sound,
okay.
then it will
Let's
include
see.
the sound.
Okay, let me try that.
and if it
Share.
doesn't, we can wing it.
It's in the lower left-hand corner of that dialog box.
Share sound. I see it. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
you
try it
click that.
again. Sorry, you guys.
That's okay.
No problem.
I'm still not hearing anything.
I'll just
Okay,
do the
wait, that's because
voiceover.
I muted it.
VPI, or Verde There we go. Products.
There we
Precision
go.
Organic Ltd. Hello, I'm Bob Jenkins. My wife Annette and I are co-founders of VPI, or Verde Products Inc. In 2008, we started a journey to understand how cremated remains impacted plant life and the environment. Since our inception, we have focused our in-depth research of understanding the impact of disposing human and animal remains. We developed a product called Let Your Love Grow that reduces the harmful impact of cremated remains. I would like to share our journey from the creation of one product to the joint development of Precision Organic Ltd. And our sophisticated pod system. With the many growing environmental challenges in the funeral industry today, as well as the need to reduce land usage for body dispersal, we have made it our mission to address both issues while respecting all cultures and belief systems. This has led to the birth of precision organic dispersal, the most environmentally friendly body dispersal alternative. Precision Organic is a marriage of two companies, VPI, that Annette and I started, and the Faunus Group, co-founded by Simon Holden and Leo Walton in the UK. In 2017, Simon contacted us to inquire about our Let Your Love Grow cremation product for his company and then became our distributor there. A wonderful relationship has grown into a formidable partnership and the creation of Precision Organic Ltd. Since the inception of VPI in 2008, we have developed a world-class team of scientists whom we will introduce in this presentation. We are confident to say comparable research and product development capability in body disposal does not exist on the global market today. Our patented pod system is a 100% natural process, maximizing the natural microbiome by using continual measurement and control to reduce a body into nothing more than a rich organic soil blend. Here's a brief snippet of the science that has brought us to this juncture. As I mentioned earlier, we started with the study of cremated remains and developed a product to address the harmful impact to the environment and plant life. We have also studied the impact of body dispersal to the environment, soil, plant, and bug life, and found that our product in all cases remarkably advanced decomposition, demonstrating how land usage can be greatly reduced for dispersal. Precision Organics Pod is a modular unit that can be installed in existing businesses such as human and animal cemeteries, crematories, and funeral homes. This system allows the end-of-life care professionals the complete chain of custody of the remains. Precision Organics' approach is unique, using evidence-based practices for safe and clean disposition that can be used anywhere in the world. Our technology is unmatched, with a central control unit using software and interface developed specifically for this process. The environmental impact is critical, and we have addressed this with the construction materials used, the resource inputs and outputs, as well as the lifespan of the system. Precision Organic provides many opportunities for existing end-of-life care professionals to offer a sustainable alternative that can lead to additional revenue while reducing the carbon footprint of current traditional methods of dispersal. To optimize efficiency of decomposition and the impact on plant life, as well as the environment, it requires us to understand decomposition science. We've been very fortunate to have a team of world-class scientists guiding our journey. Our research has been conducted by Drs. Carter, Haskell, Kylie Schaff, and scientist Yarkowski, whom have been with us pretty much from the start. It's important that we have independent research conducted to validate what our team finds. This is where Dr. Paulett fits in. Our research will never end. We understand there are many variables moving forward. The key milestones of our history and R&D are critical in developing Precision Organic. Our studies for the process started in 2017, and it will continue. It is an exciting journey to challenge the tradition with an alternative method that will change how we care for our loved ones while respecting Mother Nature. Significant potential exists to improve the funeral industry beyond current practices. The pod will lessen the negative carbon and nutrient footprints that are formed by conventional practices. We will continue using our leading-edge research to understand the environmental impact of disposing of human and animal remains while maintaining and promoting respect for all cultures and belief systems. The rationale for the pod research is founded in sustainability and environmental quality. Precision Organic is the best option moving forward. Please stay in touch with us as we grow, and thank you for the opportunity to share our journey with you.
Hey,
Wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful, Bob.
Thank you. I've got the perfect face for radio, don't I? I mean,
Great,
voice.
you do great presentation for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, with all the great things going on in the industry, this is so exciting to think that, that there is a model now that might be able to be, or will be able to be, within the chain of custody, the same facility. So we're really excited. I'm sure all these people on this call are excited as well to learn a little more about it from you, Bob.
Well, it's interesting. I'm an embalmer funeral director. Just give a little history on myself. Been in the industry since 1976. Have pretty much worked every facet of the industry. Started out, as the low guy on the totem pole in the funeral home, washing cars, hauling flowers, embalming the night calls, the weekends, and all that. I've managed several large funeral homes and crematories and cemeteries. And then I spent 25 years on the wholesale side, selling caskets and burial vaults for two major national companies. And then in 2008, my wife and I wanted to find a way to memorialize a dog that we had that had died. We don't have any children. This little dog was our child. And we are avid gardeners. And so I started out by reaching out to a pet crematory, knowing nothing about the pet industry at the time, and asked if I could buy some cremated remains for families that didn't want their pet back, because I knew when our dog died, they said, do you want the ashes back or not? And we did want them back. So I figured, okay, there's an option there where they don't give them back. And the pet crematory said, oh, you come down, we'll give you all you want. And they gave us 2 large tubs. And I said, I'll pay you for these. And they're like, oh, no. I said, so what do you do with all this? He said, well, we take them to a landfill. I thought, okay, I don't like that answer. So as we started developing the product, we wanted to find a way to put the ashes into a plant and allow them to become part of the plant. Did that, brought in a landscape or an environmental engineer, led us to a landscape architect that also had an organics company that led us to a forage and plant scientist, Sherry Yarkowski. And so once we got the Let Your Love Grow product up and going, it took us a couple of years. In 2011, I wanted to find out what happened to the bottom of a grave in a natural burial. What happened when the adipocere of the body leaked out and was absorbed by the bottom of the grave. So we started studying with Neil Haskell, a forensic entomologist in Indiana that is world renowned for his research. And while we were doing that study, he recommended Dr. Carter, who's a forensic taphonomist, to understand what it was doing to the soil properties. And while we were doing our studies, a young girl getting her dissertation done for her PhD in forensic anthropology was there, and she wanted to get involved. That's how we came across Dr. Kylie Schaaf, who is a forensic anthropologist. So once we started understanding what the impact of the body was to the soil, the plant life, and everything else, and the bug life, we noticed the advanced decomposition that was taking place. And that wasn't really our purpose. Our purpose was to keep the microbial activity that we needed within the grave space so that we could create a product to where once a body was interred, surrounded by our product, in two to 3 years, our goal was that grave could be reused and there'd be nothing to extract. There'd be no bones or anything. And we found out we were advancing much quicker than we had anticipated. So in 2014, we had an inquiry from a distributor in New Zealand, and we thought, hey, we've never been to New Zealand. What an opportunity to go and visit there. So we flew down to New Zealand, met with a distributor down there that wanted to have our product. Actually met with the government while we were there. They were having issues with cremated remains. But they brought up the concern, being islands, they're truly running out of burial space. So we had some good science under our belt already. And then we thought, okay, we need to develop an above ground system that reduces the use of land. How can we do that? And our product, our Let Your Love Grow product, has all the proper microbial activity that we needed to break down cremated remains. So now we thought, how can we modify that to break down an entire human body? So we started doing research with pigs because they replicate a human about as close as anything. Plus, Annette and I at that time were self-funded, and it was much more cost effective for us to buy, carcasses of pigs rather than bodies through med school. And one thing that Dr. Haskell brought to our attention that was very important, by using pigs, we would get them, in the first round, we had to euthanize them ourselves. But then the second round, they would euthanize them that morning. We'd pick them up and you'd put them through our system and our processes. And he made the comment, he goes, this replicates a natural burial more than using human bodies that come out of a med school that have been deeply refrigerated, possibly embalmed or stored for a while. The physiology of the body was more in tune with what would happen when someone dies and they want to have a natural burial in 2 or 3 days. So we've been using that method up to this point because everything we had up to this point was only agricultural study. And we wanted to find out how could we get past that and learn more. Once we did all this, and once the UK came on board and we started working with the Faunus group, they have a natural burial ground. And ironically, when they went to get their license, it was 5 college friends bought 80 acres to turn into a natural into a cremation garden. They did their homework of how to be sustainable. They did all some of the land had been used to plant pine trees back in the 50s and 60s to be used for telephone poles. And obviously the need for that is diminished quite a bit. So they bought the land for a pretty good price outside of Nottingham. And they studied how to, remove the trees that weren't indigenous. They used horses and trailers to stir up the forest floor. So they weren't using any machinery. I mean, they went through every process to be as natural as possible. They went to the local Ministry of Justice to get their permits. And the Ministry of Justice said, we think what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. However, we're not going to issue permits until you bring this company in the US called Let Your Love Grow in. We won't allow any cremated remains to be buried without Let Your Love Grow. We have no idea how the Ministry of Justice found out about us. We don't care. But that's how we got introduced into the UK. So we went over there, and while we were there, we made a presentation to them. And at the end of it, I kind of put a teaser in there about pod system. I had a prototype drawn up and we presented it. And boy, you could see the light bulbs going off. 2 of the partners are engineers and the light bulbs went off. And so it took us a year or 2 as we built this friendship, started developing the pod. We developed the pod in the UK. The Faunus Group's a UK-based company. And so we merged Verde Products and the Faunus Group to create Precision Organic Dispersal just for this product. I mean, we're still a separate company. They're still a separate company. But Precision Organic is a marriage of the 2 companies. By building it in the UK, we had to, the European standards for carbon footprint is pretty intense. We have to show every step of our carbon footprint from manufacturing the Let Your Love Grow product, which over there they call it RTN, Return to Nature. And we're a little hesitant to use that name here in the States right now because of Colorado. So, because the funeral home out there that got caught with 190 bodies was Return to Nature. So we're still sticking with Let Your Love Grow here. But we have to track the carbon footprint of manufacturing our product, to manufacturing the pod, to the delivery of the product and everything. And the original concept of this pod was, when I designed it, was to take a DNA sample of the body before it goes in for genealogy archiving, and also be powered by solar and rainwater. So it can be a freestanding system in a cemetery. And my goal was to not create a new market, get people to come to me. How can I take this product to the market in existing businesses? And I feel cemeteries are a perfect scenario for that. A lot of them have extra land. A lot of them are looking for revenue streams. And we've designed a system that the final product, we actually, if the family wants the residual product, we'll give them maybe an earned amount back. But we actually, once we prove we remove all the DNA, which we're confident we will, once we remove the DNA, we filter that product for prosthetics, any foreign items. We will then put that product back in and reuse it, because the microbial activity is enhanced. In our studies, it breaks down the second, third, and fourth, and fifth bodies even quicker. And then at one point, it becomes what they call polluted, where the microbial activity gets a little bit more dormant. And then that product would be extracted, filtered every time after every body it's taken out and filtered. And once we're finished with that product, we recommend and we help cemeteries design non-revenue producing areas, such as wooded areas or rough terrains that can be made into a scattering ground. Because our product truly is a soil blend. There's no wood chips in it. It's really, I don't know if any of you have seen the Let Your Love Grow product. It's very, very similar to that. It's a very fine soil blend. So that's a real quick synopsis of Let Your Love Grow and how we got to the pod.
Wow.
I think the best way to move forward, if everybody's okay with it, is just let's open the floor to questions and comments and inquiries. I don't know all the answers. If I don't, I'll try to find them and get them to you. But I think it's all a learning curve for all of us.
Yeah, I like the idea that these pods can be used at the cemetery. So I'm imagining that they should be a little bit inside, like a kind of a building for them. Like it's not something you would want to just have outside, right?
Right. Yeah. They can actually sit right next to a retort or anything. You know, they can go in an existing garage building and all that. So we have the square footage that's needed for it. They can run off of, electricity and running water if they, so be it. But maybe in some cemeteries, maybe the area that we'll be working with doesn't have access to running water and electricity. So we try to make it be beneficial to both. And one thing I didn't mention is the pod itself is made from recycled material, and the pod itself is completely recyclable.
Oh.
We expect it to have a 25-year lifespan, and all the software that we use on it will be constantly updated. The system is completely computerized. We download the data, feed it into a mainframe. So, in your introduction, you said it has 6 states. I think we're up to 8 states now. That's how quickly this movement is taking place. Let's say we have pods in all 8 states. We can download that data into a mainframe. And then next time we get a body that's maybe a white male that, might be 6'2", that weighs 225 pounds, the system will say, we need this moisture control, this air control, this heat, this everything. It will take that data and help us. The AI will help us manage the next body even quicker.
Wow. And it's solar operated, right?
It can be, absolutely.
Okay.
So-
Go ahead, Ed.
No, I think probably everyone would like to know, Bob. So how long does the process take with your particular system? And better yet, is it available yet in the United States? And if not, when will it become available?
The system right now we're right at 3 to 4 months on the as far as the body to break down. It's a 1-stage system. Once the body goes in the UK, once you put the body in, if you go to extract it, that's considered exhumation, and you have to have permits for that. So we designed this system that once the body goes in, that's never opened again until the soil blend is filtered out. Our goal is, with the economy being where it is and interest rates where our investors are hanging on to their money. So we've had a little bit of trouble raising a couple $1 million, but this week we feel pretty confident we're going to be able to move forward now. Our goal is to have it in the United States toward the end of this year, and we'll have it at a beta site location where will everybody be welcome to come see it and touch it, feel it, and check it out. So that's our whole goal, is this to be in the US up and running in 2024.
Wow.
So when you lay a body in, let's say, do you I guess it depends on the weight of the person and the size, but you have so much of the soil that you lay the body in with, right?
Yes.
And then it goes into the pod, and then water or moisture is added once the door is closed, and you turn it on and it starts doing its thing.
Yeah, actually the system, our product that's one of the magics of our product is the aging and the moisture content in the product. So once the body goes in, we may never have to add moisture to certain bodies, depending on the fat content and everything. But the computer will read that, because we've understood in all of our in-ground burial, when bloat happens, what the temperature needs to be, what the moisture content of the surrounding needs to be. And then we know once bloat happens, and then how do we maintain that balance for X number of hours and days? And then how do we replicate that to even advance that time frame by injecting air, and it's compressed air, so it actually will disturb everything, because the bacteria doesn't have arms and legs. So we have to take the bacteria to the microbial, or the microbes to the bacteria. And what we found is when the body's breaking down, the bacteria within the body is coming out. And that's what in normal decomposition breaks down the flesh and the organs and everything. But a lot of times it loses its food source, and it's not aggressive enough to go after the bone. And so what we found is, as that bacteria is coming out of the body and a bacteria in our product, and those two meet, they become very aggressive toward each other, and they're aggressive enough to go after the bone and break it down.
Wow, it's so fascinating how you did all that research to find all this out. Because I
Thank you.
know a lot of people wonder about things like this, how it happens and stuff.
Well, one of the things that we've built our company on is, I guess it's my funeral service background. We didn't want to put a product out there that didn't do what we said it did, because we don't want to reopen that door of grief for that family. Even with the Let Your Love Grow product, it took us 2 or 3 years to make sure if the proper ratio of our product was used with cremation ash, that plant lived, no matter if it's an existing plant, a new plant. Now, we strongly don't recommend roses, irises, and orchids, or roses and orchids and bonsai trees. And we don't recommend seeds because of the sodium content of the bone. And we feel the same way about the pod. We wanted to make sure, because a lot of people said, "Oh, where have you been?" Everybody's, the people in the Northwest have done a wonderful job getting the story going, getting the conversation going. Where are you guys? Where are you guys? And we're a privately held company. We're not going to roll this out until we're ready, till we know it does what we say it does. So that's kind of been our mantra, and that's why it's taken so long to get here. But we're confident, we're gonna change the way of how people can look at disposing of in a modular way, to where funeral service providers can offer this service and not ship across the United States, because that's a big carbon footprint right there.
Yes, and make it more available to people.
Yeah. Tina, you had a question. You had your hand up earlier.
You mentioned 8 places where you're testing it right now. Did I get that right?
8?
Like 8 locations? And
No.
you had a centralized computer software coming back?
Oh, I said, let's assume we got into the 8 states that allowed body composting.
Okay.
All that data would be captured from all 8. And in the UK, once it's allowed there, it's a mainframe that no matter where it is in the world, it would capture that data, and we can know exactly what the ambient temperature is, in that environment. Because if we're in the North Europe, where it's cold and rainy, or if we're in Mexico or someplace, once this gets going, we'll know exactly the outside temperature, the inside temperature of the pod, because we'll have to monitor that all the time. That's where the 8 came in. I said, once we get into 8 states, we would catch it. Right now, we're running the system at our center in the UK, right outside Nottingham, and we're also Cranfield University. Mark Pollitt is at Cranfield University in Cranfield, the UK, and he and our science team collaborate. They both get the data. Our science team extrapolates that data and says, okay, we need to make this adjustment here and that. And then he takes the data, does the same thing. And then they come back together. And so it's not just us, Verde Products and the Faunus Group, saying this. We actually have an independent university doing the studies, and then we compare notes to make sure we're on track.
Do you have any idea how much a unit will cost to a funeral home, and then how much it will cost for a consumer?
Our goal is to keep it as cost effective as possible, we're probably looking at the unit. And again, this is an estimate right now because we don't know the exact tooling cost yet. But our goal is to put this in the market maybe at $50,000. And our goal is to the consumer to be somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, maybe four tops. Yeah.
That's quite reasonable
Yeah,
compared to other
absolutely.
things, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, that really sounds very reasonable and achievable. That's what makes many people not do these things because the outlay is so great. Let me ask you this, Bob. Uh, when the process is complete, a lot of the families now, they have the notion that they can take the remains home with them. Some people opt to put them in cemetery spaces. What at this point would the family receive something to take home, or where would that product go at the end of
If
the
the
process?
family, absolutely, if the family wants to take something home, we'll have a biodegradable urn available for them. And it won't be more than maybe just, 200 cubic to 300 cubic inches of product. Because a couple of things. I gotta be careful how I say this. Right now, my fear is the industry is going to get a black eye with everything that's going on. When there's material sent back that still has bone in it, and that may be scattered in an open public area, and maybe somebody does it in their own backyard, plant this, and there's bone there. They sell that house, somebody else comes along and digs up a plant, and there's bone lying there. Who is that?
Yeah.
What? And I mean, so my concern is that's scary. So our goal is, that's why we want to work with cemeteries, that the product stays in the cemetery. And then there'll be a memorial wall with all the names of the people that have gone through the system. Because I think even with cremation, we've created kind of a culture that we don't have closure a lot of times. And we need that closure. And we need that opportunity. Not everybody grieves the same. Not everybody wants a place to go back to, but some people need that place to go back to. And the fact that this material, if there is bone in it, which we're confident there won't be, but if there is bone in it, to me, that needs to stay in the cemetery. It doesn't need to be sent to somebody that they can scatter in the backyard. And now that's my opinion. And that's kind of how we built this system, is to address that. Now, I know there's other opinions out there, and I respect those opinions, but our opinion is, if a family wants some back, we'll give them an urn size of material back, but we'd like to reuse that material. Now the question comes in, is that considered commingling? If we can prove scientifically we eliminate all DNA, it is not commingling.
I must say, Bob, I do agree with your sentiment about the larger portion going to a cemetery setting. I had a client recently who brought the remains of their mother to plant a tree within the cemetery because they didn't, after they received them, they looked at them and they didn't feel like it was right to have them home. So I think you're right about the closure aspect of it. So, but it really very exciting. I'm sure there's other people here who've got to have some good questions for you, Bob.
Well, I just think that will the machine only do humans or animals also?
It does both. We're going to have two size machines. The large machine will do adults. And then we have another machine reduced in size for toddlers and infants and pets. Obviously, we don't recommend, just like a crematory, if it's for a pet crematory, it has to be for a pet crematory. If you purchase the smaller pod for pet, we're going to try to create legislation where that has to stay with pets. You have to have another one for a toddler or a pet. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very interesting because so many people are interested in natural or organic reduction. And I think, what might stop them from pursuing that is the price of it in some cases is really expensive.
Well, and I think too, again, it's my funeral service background I keep leaning on, but the chain of custody to me is very important. Walt, I think you keep the chain of custody. When they come to you, they stay with you. There's nobody, you're not shipping them off anywhere. I think
Yeah.
that's so, I think it's very important. Even though we're looking at different means of disposition, I've always argued this, and I get slapped upside the head every now and then. To me, you know, they say there's two means of disposition, burial and cremation. And that's wrong. There's only one means of disposition, that's burial. Cremation and alkaline hydrolysis, and right now, the way that NOR is doing, those are not final dispositions. Something still has to be done with that cremated remains, that alkaline hydrolysis remains, and the material out of this pot. So when we designed this, we wanted to make it a one-stage process that was truly a final disposition. And again, that's why we go back to the cemetery, because the cemetery is dedicated property that is protected. And to put bodies just randomly on a mountainside or a hillside, I think is dangerous for the industry. That I'm afraid somebody's going to get a hold of that, twist it in the story the way they want to, and we're going to get a black eye out of it. This industry's had enough black eyes, and it's not unknown that this could happen the same way.
And it's sad too
Absolutely.
for people, some people want to find their ancestors and know where they are, people that they've never met from their family, or some people aren't ready to go visit a grave maybe for a couple years.
Well,
And
that's why we
there's-
want to do the
yeah.
DNA and archive that for genealogy.
Yeah, I like the idea of a memorial wall too. Seen some
Oh, yeah.
beautiful ones.
In our case, we produce about 3 55-gallon drums of reduced remains per body. And the family can take it all if they want, or they can leave it all if they want, or take a barrel and leave a couple of barrels and whatever. In our process, we calcine the bones and then run them through a hammer mill. So there's nothing that can be seen to be appearing to be a bone in any way. And then we give that to the family separate from the actual NOR remains. So
You
that's
give the
how,
bones separate?
well, yeah, and because there's a point where we do the initial processing, and then we transfer that out to getting the final steps involved. And at that point, any bones left, we hand pick through the whole thing and pick out any appliances, etc., anything that got missed or was internal to the body, and separate that out by hand. And then, so it goes in a stream at that point.
Yeah.
So the material coming out of the cradle gets run through a small, not a standard chipper, but you would go through with garden waste, etc. Basically to homogenize the material, because there'll be clumps. There's a high fungal content in what we do. So we'll open up, and there'll even be mushrooms inside the cradle. And so
Wow.
we want to uniform it down so it's something closer to the expectations of the family. And then after that, it goes through a pasteurization process to take out most of the bacteria. And then it has to go through certification with a state lab that the E. coli is gone and so on. But yeah, I'm completely with you on that issue of making sure that there's nothing that looks like a bone.
Yeah, you know, you said something there I think is very interesting, is there's mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this belief and that natural burial, that getting limbs and everything off the forest floor and putting it in the bottom of the grave will help. That is the improper bacteria for decomposition. Decomposition causes that bacteria, but it doesn't break down anything in the body. Dr. Carter has he's issued white paper studies on that. Everybody thinks mushrooms are the way to break the mushroom suit and all that. That's fallacy. There's nothing there that will add to decomposition, and the fact that it's appearing in your material, it's just proof to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the questions most of the bodies we get have some antibodies and various other medicines in the body. And Paul Stamets has done a lot of study on the fact that the fungi will break that down. and render it non-active.
Right. We in the UK we have to meet a PAS standard. In the US, the Composting Council doesn't require PAS, and I don't know what it's an acronym. I don't know exactly what it's for, but in the UK and where we do business in New Zealand, Australia, we have to say exactly what's in our product. In New Zealand, they think that compost dust was a cause of Legionnaire's disease, so we have to put that caution on all of our packaging down there. But one of the things in the UK, we have to have this product tested by the Compost Council for PAS contamination and everything. And, you know, everything we've done to date, we've passed with flying colors. So we're pretty proud of that. So we're coming to the US with pretty high standards of how we had to meet in the UK, because the UK has for those of us that are baby boomers, remember the Stamp a Good Seal stamp that we used to, if that's a product had that, boy, we knew that was a good product. I forget what they call it over there. It's certified something. But our goal is to get that certification in the UK because it's good throughout all of the EU. So when we go to any other country in Europe, we've already met their standards. So we know if we can do that over there, we're light years ahead of what requirements are here in the US.
Right.
Let me ask you a question, Bob, out of curiosity. So as an operator, let's say we were to in the future obtain one of your units, and then we wanted to start doing this. And of course, I know there's licensure and all kinds of things that are involved. But to start the process, are we then purchasing or procuring the soil, like Let Your Love Grow, from your company then to be placed into that chamber, correct? That's how it all works, opposed to the organic material, I should say.
Yeah, what we do is, let's say you put in a pod, 2 or 3 pods, because obviously 1 pod probably wouldn't be enough. You probably need 2 or 3. So let's say you put in 3 pods. We would contract with a manufacturer to have our product made locally. So it's the same local flora and fauna, plus it reduces the carbon footprint of delivery. And then that product would be made. Our original plan, if I can figure out a way how to monetize this, is to teach you how to make the product, especially if you're a cemetery property owner, because everything in our product comes from the cemetery. It comes from tree trimming, grass trimming, leaf blowing, and all that. So it would truly become a sustainable cycle to where, as you beautify your cemetery, we could use that material for this. And that's eventually we'd like it to licensing process to where we teach you how to make that product. It reduces the carbon footprint of the product being brought to you, and then you have fresh material there all the time. But that's down the road. That's our ultimate goal to get to.
That's great. That's really, it's sounding better and better all the time. I always liked the Let Your Love Grow product. When I learned about it, I thought it was such great, well-researched product, but this is just taking it even beyond to the next level.
God only made so much ground. We got to take care of what we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Bob, how much after the whole process is done, what is the volume of material that is left at the end?
It's going to be a good 1.5 cubic yard, maybe 2 yards of product. It takes a lot of product.
That is comparable to Walt's 3.
It is, yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. And how does your product get filtered out of that?
The system itself is designed there's a vacuum in it that will extract all that material, and then it goes through a filtering system, and it can be shot back into it. It's a high-tech system. I mean, it's impressive.
It sounds very high-tech.
And it rotates. It's self-rotating. So it rotates. It takes a 5-minute rotation. Right now we're doing it every hour, but we'll rotate it. So again, we're breaking up the body in there while it's in there, and everything's exposed to bacteria, so nothing gets stagnant or builds up, and we try to avoid getting any clumps. So it's constantly rotated, air's blasted in to separate everything and give oxygen to the microbes, and all the probes in there will tell us what the moisture content is, what the temperatures are, Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it really is.
So, and that takes 3 to 4 months.
That's what we're saying. Our science team says much shorter, but until they prove it to me, I'm going to stick with 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Isn't that true,
Carolyn's
Walt?
Well, the first phase us is a minimum of 2 months. And then there's another couple of months in the 55-gallon drums
Yeah.
where it's put away. And so, but I'll be one of the presenters at the Compost Research and Education Foundation, Cornell University, in June, and talking with the other folks there. They basically are sad because they have a lot of experience with what they call dead stock,
Yeah.
the composting of farm animals and stuff. And they feel that 9 months is the amount of time it takes to have the material truly. So we tell the families that we will hold the material for a year, and they can pick it up at a time that's convenient for them to incorporate it. Because one of the challenges that with whole NOR is that the people who are excited about this are not the people who are going to have to deal with the cubic yard and a half of material and get it properly put away. Just taking it out and dumping it on the ground, to me, is a pretty sad way to finish this.
I agree. And you know, again, in our studies, when we first started, I don't know, in the video, there was you saw there's like 3 pictures. It showed these mounds. We started our very first phase, we buried pigs above ground. And we did that because, number one, I wanted to see, first off, what the product did. And we learned, and when you do research, we found out when you do research, you learn what not to do next time. That's pretty much what research is. And we literally got rid of the flesh and the organs within 21 to 28 days. I mean, just that quick. Then it was to the, you know, the tendons and the heavy cartilage and the bone. And so then we went to in-ground burial, and that's when we started seeing really advancement decomposition of the cartilage and the connective tissue and the layers of bone. And Dr. Shali Koff was so amazed because we put 9 pigs in the ground. 6 were in different ratios of our product, and then 3 were just in soil because we wanted to replicate a natural burial. So what we did is we dug the grave 5 foot deep, but then we came back and put a 2 foot like a pyre in the bottom of it of soil. So when we laid the body on it, it leveled off just a little bit, and that created drainage. So where if rain got in there, we would, because we did one research, and the young kid that I had forensic students helping us, and they dug the graves before I got up there, and they a little bit were cupped, and we ended up drowning some of the bacteria because it rained that winter and it didn't work. So we created this pyre, and then we created, this is an old cemetery trick I learned a long time ago. At each end of the grave, we put about a 2-inch trench across the end of that grave, and that will draw water away from what's in the grave. So by the time we laid the body on the soil, it had a natural drainage, and then the trenches would help pull that water away. The pigs in soil, we left them alone for 53 weeks. When we went back and extracted them, the pigs in soil, the stench was off the chart. A lot of flesh was still intact. The organs were intact. Connective tissue, bone was still there. As soon as we brought them up and laid them on the ground, flies were on them immediately. The 6 in our product there was absolutely no smell. All the odor was gone. All the flesh were gone. All the organs were gone. The heavy connective tissue was pretty much non-existent. And the bones were like, it reminded me of licorice sticks in the wintertime, how they get a little stiff. And that's how the heavy bone was. So we thought, okay, if we can do that in 12 months in an enclosed environment where, and again, we had body probes our probes below the body and above the body. So we knew exactly what the temperature was below the body and above the body and what the ambient temperature was, because we went through all 4 seasons. So then we thought, how can we capture that in an enclosed system? And that's how we got to the pods, was to mimic what happens in the earth. Now, the difference is we're adding air, we're adding moisture, and that's how we're advancing the decomposition to break down the heavy cartilage and the bone. Because those are the, the most durables are the hair, teeth, and bone. And teeth are an issue no matter what. Hair and bone, we're pretty confident we can go through pretty quickly. So the science team is saying we can do it quicker than 4 months. I'm like, prove it to me. And we're still proving that.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, at the intermission, the halfway through process, we go ahead and remove all the teeth. They come out of the skull very easily at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, again, in the UK, we can't open it without an exhumation order. So we thought, okay, we got to find a way to make it all happen in there, and that's what we're pretty proud of that. And it's a consumer protection thing too. So if Ed puts one in, and I guess it's going to come down to each state as licenses. Does it take a funeral director to do this, or does it take? It's the same as a crematory operator. Do you have to be a funeral director or not? But once you place that body in there and cover it in our product, seal the chamber, you're done. Everything else is computerized. You have a monitor that exactly what's going on right there. We train the operator, but then that data is also fed to our mainframe, so we know exactly what's going on. And we can either manually call you and say, hey, you need to adjust your air, you need to adjust your moisture, or we can do it automatically. We'll be able to do it automatically to make sure it's staying on track.
Wow. So at some point, you'll probably have some employees working at a computer monitoring some of these things, right?
That's what the big fundraiser is right now, is to get programmers, to get a sales team and get all that up and going, because we plan on hitting the States pretty hard toward the end of the year.
Yeah. Wow,
It's
that's
really-
so
really-
exciting. Well, I definitely think you should come back again when it's here in the States, and let's do it again, because
Maybe we can do a live
yeah.
broadcast.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Let me ask you
Maybe we
something,
could
Bob.
have a field trip.
Yeah.
Over your partners over in the UK. So how's it being received over there? And like, I guess they've been doing it for a while. So how's it looking there with the consumer, and how's everyone like it?
Well, the laws in the UK have not been updated since 1856.
Oh, wow.
Seriously, that's the last time legislation was passed with body dispersal. That's when cremation became prevalent in the UK. So our team actually has been, luckily the Ministry of Justice has embraced us. We've met with them every time we go over. They make it a point to sit down with us and see where we are. They actually see us replacing cremation in 15 to 20 years, because they're trying to reduce their carbon footprint very aggressively by 2030. And they see this as an alternative. Now, as far as being accepted, it's not allowed yet in the UK. So, yeah, that's why we're coming to the States. That's why, we've got 8 states now that allow it. So we want to try to get into these states and test it here in the States. So we have probably another good 2 years of testing before we actually go out and start knocking on doors and sell the systems. But again, it's about proof of concept that we built our company on that, and we're going to stick to that. We're not going to fly our plane while we're building it. We want to make sure when we get on the tarmac and take off, we know we can fly.
Well, are you gonna go to the conventions and like market it to the cemeteries and stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. We're just not there yet.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, it's so exciting, because I mean, you're really what you had mentioned earlier, about the costs. There was a time when I first, when we first started talking about natural organic reduction, my fear was that people could not keep up with the pace. But now you may be putting out a product that people can afford, people will invest in, And, and I think it could be successful. So I commend you for that, Bob, and all the work that you've done. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys really are taking it slow. You got to crawl before you walk. And that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Because you got to do it right the first time.
Well, and it's got to be palatable to the provider. I mean, you put in a retort, you have to have volume to get the return on that investment. Obviously, with this system, if it takes 2 to 3, 4 months, whatever, maybe you could do 4 bodies a year. So how long can you project out a return on that investment? And that's we're looking at how is that feasible for you to put this in, understanding that you can do 4 bodies per unit a year, and then what's your ROI at the end of that? I mean, we have to look at it as a business model, not only as being an alternative method of disposition, but it has to be sensible to you, the provider, and it has to be palatable to the consumer. Not only the concept of it, but can we afford it? And funeral costs, I don't know if any of you see the article in the Rolling Stone that came out this past week.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's not real. It's a good article, but it beats up NOR a little bit, and they misquote some things in it. They quote that the average funeral is $10,000. The average traditional funeral is $10,000. I do services here still. I did a friend of mine passed away in December. I did a cremation, the church visitation. We had 300 people there, and I did it for $3,500. So there's a lot of misconception and misquotes out there right now that just really aggravates me. But if we can come in with a system, because they quote in there that it's $5,000 to $7,000 for NOR. Is that the right ballpark, or is that wholesale to the?
No, that's the retail.
Yeah.
So the facility in Colorado is $9,000. Recompose is $7,000. A return home is $5,000, and Herland is $3,000. So that's the range of
the
fee.
big range. But Bob, your product is so great because I'm always about cemeteries and making cemeteries and keeping them relevant and in business. And this thing can keep cemeteries working,
Well, that was my whole concept, because when I managed the cemetery, and Ed, you know this better than I do. Well, when I managed this one funeral home cemetery combo, we got acquired by SCI. I went to all the meetings and all that, and the director of the cemetery division made a comment I have never forgotten. This was like in 1985. He said, the difference between a funeral director and a cemeterian? I said, no, what's the difference? He said, a funeral director waits for the phone to ring, and the cemetery makes the phone ring. And of course, this is SCI, but I've never forgotten that. And it is true, because a funeral director waits for people to call them because of their reputation, all that. Now with cremation where it is today, and alkaline hydrolysis getting into the game, and even natural organic reduction getting into the game, the cemeteries are threatened by that. And there's cemeteries that have a lot of property still to use. And there's a lot of cemeteries that are landlocked and don't have a lot of property to use. So, when my wife and I were talking about what's the best positioning for this is, number one, I don't want to create, for anybody who's built a new funeral home, I've helped do that once or twice. You move that location to get the families to come to you is like feeding cattle. Cattle are very happy to go to this one area and eat all the time. If you move their food, you move their cheese on them, basically. I don't know if you ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? It's a great concept, because you're getting them out of their comfort zone. Now they got to come over here to, and you got to get them trained to come over here to eat. And that happens with families a lot of times when a new funeral home comes to town, or you build another place. Cemeteries are here. They're already in business. They have a following of people that have loved ones buried there. They're looking for alternative methods. And I just see that as, that's our number one audience we want to go to. Absolutely, we'll go to funeral homes. We'll go to crematories. But I think cemeteries are the great
Yeah.
audience for us.
I think so too.
No, I agree. Well, we really do appreciate you coming on, Bob. I mean, this has been a great learning lesson, of course, with you, Walt, adding your knowledge as well. This is a subject that people are so interested in, and
I
it
see
really
Seth.
is exciting. Oh, Seth here too.
Hey, yeah, I didn't know if you were wrapping up. I certainly want to add my gratitude for your enthusiasm into this emerging market, whatever it name it lands on. And I think that your product, the technology you've described, especially the reduction, including bone in that 3 to 4 month time frame. I'm as someone who's had more than my toe in this conversation for a little while. I think your work is fantastic, and I can't wait to learn more. And the price point, I think this is going to make something that I've been dreaming of ways to make more accessible to people. I think you may be a part of that tipping point. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next time I get out to Colorado, I'll look you up. We'll sit down and have coffee or something.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And Ed, I think you should get two or three of these precision pods.
Well, for a conversation.
You can be a prototype for us, Ed.
Well, we would probably love to do that, Bob. I mean, you got to be on the cutting edge, and you got to be ahead of the curve, not behind it. So, we here at the Global Green Burial Alliance really appreciate you coming on tonight and enlightening all of us, and us having some of your peers along with you, that are actually in the trenches doing this and providing these services. So, thank you all for being here tonight. It's greatly appreciated, and we do hope that you can come on here, in the future and talk a little bit about, like we said, maybe demoing one of these wonderful products that you have, Bob.
Great.
Yeah, giving us a tour of it, kind of.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thank you everybody for attending and for the questions. And the thing of it is, death isn't going to go away. The earth isn't going to grow on us. So how do we make those two in balance with each other? And that's really what it comes down to is, we need to respect Mother Nature. We need to respect culture and belief systems, and we need to respect each other and find a way to take care of each other. It comes down to serving your fellow man. That's our whole mindset to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well put. Well put. Well,
good to see everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Bob. And thanks, Walt, for chiming in and being part of the discussion. Appreciate it.
Glad to see Seth here as well. This is a small community.
Yeah.
Well,
all
folks,
right.
Thanks again.
Yep, we'll be on for next month's forum. And in the meantime, we'll be doing a couple spotlights once a week, little short interviews, and we'll see everybody next time.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.